When you think about academic integrity, what comes to mind? University policies, citation formats, fear of getting in trouble? The way universities present and police academic integrity can make it seem like a series of rules and formatting guidelines. But the spirit of academic integrity has nothing to do with policing scholars' work or catching cheaters. At its core, academic integrity is about membership in a special kind of community, an academic community. An academic community is a group of scholars united in a common mission, to impact the world by advancing what we know. Academic integrity structures how scholars work together. It governs how we engage with and respond to one another's work. It guides how we signal our own contributions to the field. And it positions the current state of knowledge as a springboard for innovation and discovery. In short, academic integrity structures the system of cooperation that makes academic communities such powerful drivers of knowledge and such exciting places to be. I'm Ryan Wepler, Director of the Graduate Writing Lab. In this video, I'll explore Yale's standards of academic integrity, why they exist, what they are, and how to follow them. My primary focus is academic honesty in graduate coursework and the research you submit for your degree. But these standards of academic integrity extend beyond Yale to most professional settings, like conference presentations, writing for publication, and the writing you do for your job after graduation. This video is organized in 3 parts. I'll begin by exploring 3 core principles that underlie Yale's standards of academic integrity. Next, I'll explain the 5 types of academic dishonesty that Yale addresses in its code of conduct. I'll conclude by discussing situations that most commonly lead to academic dishonesty, and I'll suggest some research practices you can adopt to avoid committing academic misconduct, unintentionally or on purpose. 3 core principles underlie Yale's guidelines for academic integrity. The first is the idea that individuals own their ideas and their words. If you write somebody else's idea or somebody else's words into your paper so that it appears that idea or those words came from you, you are considered to have stolen that material from your source. The second principle at the foundation of Yale's academic integrity guidelines is the idea that scholars' work must accurately represent what they did and what they found. Your work cannot make it appear that you had ideas you didn't have, wrote words you didn't write, or found results you didn't find. In short, you must be the scholar your work suggests that you are. To misrepresent yourself in your work is to have committed academic fraud. The final principle that informs Yale's guidelines for academic integrity is the university's responsibility to support your learning. Yale is not just responsible for upholding standards of scholarly ethics. It is responsible for helping you learn. Academic integrity standards uphold one primary principle of learning. You learn the most from the experience of doing the work yourself. You learn to write by writing. You achieve new insights about your subject by exploring it through research. You learn the core methodologies of your field from the process of research and writing. In this section, I'll explain 5 types of academic misconduct: plagiarism, unauthorized collaboration, falsifying, fabricating, or misusing data, multiple submission, and cheating. For each, I'll explain what it is, why it's wrong, and what you can do to stay academically honest. These 5 categories of academic misconduct are drawn from the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences academic regulations. But every Yale graduate and professional school has a similar standard. To find the academic integrity guidelines for your school, Google the name of the school and academic integrity. Plagiarism is using another scholar's ideas, research, or language without acknowledging where they came from. Citation styles differ by discipline, but making a good faith effort to credit your source is much more important than getting the style correct. Using the proper citation style is an issue of formatting. Crediting a source is an issue of professional ethics. Because scholars are considered to own their ideas and their language and their research, presenting another scholar's ideas as your own work is considered academic theft. Plagiarism can also be considered academic fraud because your work misrepresents you as the source of language or ideas you didn't create. Plagiarism also undermines your learning by substituting the work of other scholars for work you might have learned from had you completed it yourself. To avoid plagiarism, you must acknowledge in a citation every idea and every piece of language that you draw from another source. This applies most commonly to primary and secondary sources, but it includes other resources as well. Using language or ideas derived from AI chatbots, like ChatGPT, without attribution, also constitutes academic fraud. And conversations and feedback that help shape your work should be credited in a footnote. Unauthorized collaboration is working on coursework with others in a way that is not permitted by the instructor. It typically involves several members of a course contributing to work that each person submits individually. But it can also mean seeking help from someone outside of the course or using software like ChatGPT. Because collaboration policies vary from course to course, what constitutes unauthorized collaboration is determined by the instructor. On assignments where the instructor expects submissions to reflect the work of a single student, coursework that contains contributions from several individuals is considered academic fraud. Restrictions on collaboration often reflect an instructor's judgment that students' learning will be enhanced by working independently. In these situations, collaborating with others goes against the professor's learning goals and undermines your learning. Most academic fields thrive on collaboration. As a result, most instructors not only permit work with other students, they encourage it as a means of developing the research practices that are important for your professional success. But the instructor is the authority on the research and writing practices that are best suited to their learning goals. Yale encourages instructors to share their collaboration policies with students. But the university's academic honesty guidelines ultimately place the burden for following a professor's expectations on the student. If you're ever unsure whether collaboration is allowed, ask. Falsifying data means changing it to support a desired result. Fabricating data is inventing it altogether. And misusing data is misconstruing it to support a result that it does not support. Misusing data often means using it selectively, citing data that supports your hypothesis and ignoring data that doesn't. These scenarios apply most commonly to research in the sciences and social sciences, but they could also apply to a circumstance in the humanities, where a writer mischaracterizes a quote from a source, or ignores vital context in a way that obscures the reader's understanding. When a researcher falsifies, fabricates, or misuses data, they take credit for findings they didn't achieve, which is academic fraud. And each of these scenarios undermines learning by substituting invented or incomplete knowledge for a true understanding of a subject. To avoid misusing data, you must do more than present your data fully and accurately. You must also provide the context necessary to understand its significance completely. Instead of thinking of tensions or anomalies as threats to a neat conclusion, think of them as opportunities for nuance and further investigation. An anomalous result could be where your project begins to get really interesting. Multiple submission is presenting the same paper for credit in more than one course. It includes presenting previously submitted ideas in new language, or incorporating a portion of an earlier paper into a new one. Because the instructor reading your work will assume you have written it for their course, recycling a paper you've already completed is considered academic fraud. It also undermines your learning by substituting old work for the opportunity to complete a project that teaches you something new. To avoid multiple submission, you must submit new work in every course. If you draw any language or ideas from your previous work, you must cite them as you would any other source. Yale's academic honesty guidelines do allow multiple submission if you have written permission from both instructors. Cheating is using unauthorized resources to complete exams, problem sets, or other coursework. Unauthorized resources might include notes, software, or materials submitted by previous students. Cheating is academic fraud because it misrepresents what you know, and it undermines your learning by substituting outside resources for things you've learned. The best way to avoid cheating? Don't cheat. If there's any ambiguity about what outside resources you're permitted to use on an exam or assignment, ask your instructor. In this final section, I'll discuss 4 research-based strategies for avoiding academic dishonesty. Start early, follow your curiosity, take careful notes, and overcome imposter stress. Before discussing strategies for avoiding plagiarism, it seems important to acknowledge that not all plagiarism is intentional. A primary cause of unintentional plagiarism is that citation conventions are far from universal. Expectations for what sources need to be cited vary significantly from culture to culture. And these differing conventions often reflect different cultural beliefs about the ownership of ideas. In many cultures, for example, ideas are considered to be the property of the community rather than the property of individuals. These cultural differences create misunderstandings about citation that make plagiarism more common among international students. American academic conventions strongly uphold individuals' intellectual property. And for this reason, American research practices tend to require more citation than in some other cultures. But plagiarism is plagiarism, even if it's unintentional. So if you're ever unsure about whether you need to credit a source, it's best to err on the side of citing it. And if you ever have a question about navigating the citation conventions in your discipline, your instructor or a fellow from the Graduate Writing Lab can help you find your way. Research has regularly found a correlation between procrastination and academic dishonesty. When you haven't made much progress on a project and the deadline is fast approaching, your resistance to cutting corners diminishes considerably. One of the hardest parts of any project can often be getting yourself to sit down and work on it. To get working, lower the stakes for yourself. Soon after you receive an assignment, commit to devoting 15 minutes to your project each day. And give yourself permission to write something messy. Starting early leaves you plenty of time to revise. The momentum of starting early will not only help you avoid academic dishonesty, it's the foundation for producing something great. Writers often create barriers for themselves, like needing to be in the right environment or in the right frame of mind. The fact is, you can write productively almost anywhere. Pay attention to the barriers that keep you from writing, and then develop strategies for overcoming them. Third, put your phone down, or better yet, leave it in another room far from where you're working. Take some time away from the life of constant interruption created by our devices. Ignore your texts, emails, and social media for an hour or two. I promise nothing bad will happen. If you do get into a situation where you haven't completed an assignment and time is running out, I promise you that it is always better to submit late work than to plagiarize. Research suggests that students are more motivated to do their own work when they are invested in the subject. When professional scholars and writers write, they don't respond to prompts. They follow their own curiosity, or their inner drive to make change in the world. You will likely find yourself more motivated to do your own work if you have a similarly authentic writing experience. When approaching a research or writing assignment, find a question you're genuinely interested in. Motivation to find out more about a topic that matters to you is motivation to do the work yourself. And following your own curiosity will boost your learning by helping you experience research the way professional writers and scholars experience it. Some academic dishonesty is the result of sloppiness. You write a quote in your notes without documenting the source, then copy that language directly into your paper. Or you read a bunch of sources but don't take notes. The source's ideas mingle with your own ideas until you can't tell which are which leads you to write some of the source's ideas into your paper as if they were your own. In cases of inadvertent plagiarism, saying, "I didn't mean to," won't keep you out of trouble. Plagiarism is a matter of fact, not intent. The best note-taking strategy for avoiding plagiarism is a consistent system that you apply to each source. Taking notes in the same format for each source will help you keep the source's ideas separate from one another and from your own. It's perfectly acceptable to organize your notes on paper or a word processor or a spreadsheet. Note-taking software like Scrivener and OneNote can help you organize the workflow of longer projects. And the Yale Library offers workshops on citation managers like Zotero, EndNote, and Mendeley, which allow you to link your notes to citations. When scholars feel like imposters in their fields, they lack the confidence that their work is good enough. This sometimes leads them to use other people's ideas to mask their perceived shortcomings. Overcoming imposter stress is more about changing your mindset than it is about adopting a specific practice. Instead of thinking of grad school assignments as challenges to prove you belong, think of them as opportunities to learn and grow. Mistakes are allowed and encouraged if they further your learning. Take risks, get feedback, reflect on what is working and what you can do better. Graduate school isn't a proving ground. It is a learning space. The students who achieve the greatest success will be the ones who find the most opportunities to grow. To push back against imposter stress, think about what you've done to get here. All of your achievements have gotten you to this point, and it's an exciting place. Participating in a scholarly conversation about ideas that matter can be thrilling. You're playing an active role in the creation of new knowledge. So jump in. You belong in this field, and the field is better off having you in it.